Okay, so let's practice the famous or the infamous downward facing dog. This is the pose where our body makes this upside down V, and the Sanskrit name for this pose is Adho, which is downward facing. Adho, Mukha, Svanasana, or yes, Svanasana. Adho, Mukha, Svanasana, downward facing dog. So at its very basic, it is this upside down V. So you plant your hands down on the mat and walk your feet back. You come into this V. Now you can come in two ways. You can be in a forward fold towards the back of your mat, and you can walk your hands forward, come into this V. Or you can be in a fold in the front of your mat and walk your feet back into this V. Another way, which you'll see a lot in classes, is maybe you're in child's pose. I like to start here a lot because this helps me get the correct distance between my hands and my feet. So if I sit back in child's pose, I extend my arms long out in front of me, and I give my arms enough space so that my hands aren't too narrow. It's like my arms are extended straight out from my shoulders or even a little wider. Then from here, I can curl my toes and press myself up to downward facing dog. So I'm in this upside down V. I want to feel as though my heels are moving towards the mat. They may or may not ever touch. I want to think about pressing my palms into the ground. So a lot of times, especially newcomers, they will grip their fingers into the mat, and then their knuckles lift up off the mat. So if I had my camera closer, I'd zoom in and show you what's happening with my knuckles. We want to press underneath the knuckles down into the mat. So I want to press my palms down into the mat, nice and strong. So we always want a strong foundation, right, with our hands and our feet or whatever is touching the mat. So I'm pressing down strong into those palms. My heels are reaching down towards the mat. Now I want to feel like I have this sensation of lift coming up so from my hips. So it's almost like if there was a band tied around my waist, right? If I had a little belt or a strap or something that's right at my hip bones that was lifting me up, right? So I'm reaching my hips up nice and high. I'm finding space in between my shoulders. I'm not letting my shoulders crunch up to my ears. I'm pulling my navel in towards my spine for strength. And you can just let your head hang heavy. Maybe when you first get in the pose, sometimes you want to wiggle around. You might like to nod and shake the head, yes and no. Find space in between the shoulders and hang out here. Now, many times when we first start practicing yoga, or this pose in particular, our shoulders may be a little tense, maybe our chest isn't that open. So a lot of times our initial downward dog might look something more like this, right? Where I don't have a straight line from my arm all the way up my spine. So, and maybe that's just because I have tight shoulders. That's okay. Over time, you'll start to open up more and be able to hang out in this pose for a while. So, there you have it. There's our discussion of downward facing dog.